Hello, everyone, and welcome today. Navigating Perimenopause. It's the launch day of the book. I'm so excited. And even more excited, I get to spend some time with Linda Biggs. Hi, Linda.
Hello. So excited to be here.
So excited. So, Linda Biggs is the co founder of Joni, a 21st century period care brand making sustainable products accessible to everyone who needs them. Joni is taking a grassroots approach to shake up the billion-dollar monopolized Femtech industry with an innovative, award-winning free-vend commercial period care dispenser to support a national shift towards free period care in workplaces and schools. As the mother of two daughters, Joni feels Linda, you're not, Joni is the company. Linda feels a strong, but Joni does too. You both feel the same way.
Same. Yep.
Linda feels a strong need to connect what she does every day with the world she wants to help create for them. And not only that, we need to make a mention that you are the creator of the newest #1 Amazon bestseller,
Yay.
Bleed, this amazing book. If
Yes.
you have not picked this up, I possibly did maybe write something in it. It is so beautifully done. You've done such a good job at this. And
Mhm.
as somebody who has done this, it is so much work and so much heart and soul that's gone into this. And I absolutely love it. So if you're going to buy books today, these are the two books you want to be buying. Get them both. That's the way to go.
Aw, thanks,
So
Erin. That's awesome.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, and I want to have a conversation with you, not only because you are in the period care industry, and obviously periods are a big thing, especially for women going through perimenopause and menopause,
Mm.
but I know you have your own personal journey that you've gone through with perimenopause. And so, I want to ask you some questions just to kind of start some conversation. So, how can we normalize conversations around perimenopause and menopause to reduce stigma and misinformation? What do you think we can do? What are some of your thoughts?
Oh man. I mean, I'm going to be really transparent. I'm an open book when it comes to my
I
experience, but
know.
because of that, just this whole conversation, and I know I'm not the only one. I think that
Mhm.
often when we start talking about this, others are like, oh, hey, I've had similar experiences. So I mean, I'm going to just step back a bit and say I thought that I was pretty open to talking about it before. Like I thought because I'm in the period care space and, perimenopause and menopause is just one of those chapters of your life through your cycle and through your phases. And I thought I was prepared, but I was absolutely not prepared.
Mhm.
And so part of my thinking before my own personal experience was it was like this thing that was like far off that would eventually, it happens to us and, it'll eventually come. And I didn't really give it another thought. It's almost like saving for retirement where you don't really
Yeah.
think about it in your
And all of a
20s
sudden you're
because you're
like,
like, I've got so much time. And then in your 30s, you're like, well, maybe I should start. And then in your 40s, you're like, fuck.
oh
I don't
shit.
know if you're allowed
Yeah.
to say
No,
that, but
you
you're
can
just
swear.
like,
I think
I
you can.
need to start thinking about this.
Yeah.
And so it was like that. And so I think to answer your question, I think it's important for women and anyone who menstruates to talk openly about what they're experiencing at every phase of their cycle of their life. Because when you first get your period, it feels weird. Your body is changing. My daughters are going through that, but they have the support system around them. I'm encouraging to have conversations around what does it feel like? How do you have any
Mhm.
questions? And then as you work through your life and maybe you choose to have kids, now you're looking at fertility. Now you're looking at your cycle in a different way. Post children, what has happened to your cycles after you have kids? For me, it was like a monsoon season every
Yeah.
TMI, but like
Yeah.
it completely
Yeah.
changed my
Yep.
periods.
Yeah.
And
100%.
and while I was regular every month, we're talking about endometriosis, talking about PMDD, all of these things. I think we just have to just be um, I don't want to say brave because I think that looks differently with everyone, but I think we just need to start talking about it in a way that works for us. So
Yeah.
for some, it might just be with your friends, because I guarantee if you start talking about it, they're probably
Oh, yeah.
dealing through something similar,
100%.
and then they feel comfortable. So if you come at it from a very safe place, you make it possible for other people to start talking about it too. And
Yeah.
so um, I'm seeing that happen more and more thanks to, brands like Air Wellness
Yeah.
that are really activating those conversations. But not only that, but workplaces that
Yeah.
need to have these conversations
Yes.
because, the demographic in their offices are being impacted by this. So it's happening slowly but
Yeah.
surely.
No. And I think, it's funny. I kind of shared the other day about, or on social the other day about starting progesterone. And I was in
Mm,
one of my stores in the interior last week. And one of the ladies kind of sheepishly kind of was like, "Oh, I've started using progesterone." She was saying it in a way like you could see she was like, "Oh, what's she gonna say about it? Because she's natural and she must be all about the
Mm,
vitamins." And I was like,
mm,
"Good for you." I go, "I'm on progesterone too, game changer." And then
yeah.
immediately you could see she lightened up. Her face got brighter, and then all the women kind of circled into the back behind the till, and we're all talking about it. And there was like
Yeah.
six of them, and they're like, "You think it's okay?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And I think that's the
Mm,
other thing, because there's been this,
mm,
especially I find in the natural health industry, there's been this like villainization, like they're bad and we're good and you should be all natural. And it's like, it is whatever works for you. It's whatever makes you feel your best. And I think having these open dialogue conversations where we're like, yeah, I take it, it's amazing. Then it gives other women the autonomy or opportunities. They're like, oh, okay, maybe I should go check this out. Maybe it's not going to be that bad.
mm.
Maybe anxiety and not sleeping is not the way I want to spend the next 5 to 10 years, right? So I think
Oh
there's
my
that
God.
too.
Yes.
And these are the conversations we can have just casually, just by like, yeah, I
Yes.
love progesterone. I'm on testosterone. It's like, what? And like, I get
Oh
that all the
man.
time. Really? Right. And just
Yeah.
throwing that out there, you get that, middle-aged women, you start talking about that. Everybody wants to talk about it. The second you throw it out there, they're just
Yes.
like, "Hmm."
Yes, yes. And I've seen the crowds at your talks and I've seen how the interest in it. And I think there's two factors there. I think there's this idea of like, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation
100%.
with access
Yeah.
to the internet. There's a ton of data. And now you're like, well, what do I believe?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. There's like whole camp of like, well, perimenopause symptoms are your fault
Yeah.
because it's something that you are doing or not doing. And so if you just figure that out, then you can manage them naturally.
Yeah.
Bullshit. We
Bullshit.
know that's not the case. But I think the narrative that supports that is this idea of like, well, grin and bear it, suck it up.
Yeah.
Periods are meant to be painful, like what we've been conditioned to believe for so
Yes.
long. So as
Yes.
we enter this phase, we're like, well, this is just another thing I have
Yeah.
to, work through, bear, in addition to managing aging parents, kids that
Yes.
are, it's just another thing on the to-do list. And if I can just say anything to anyone who's going through it, who is like unsure of what to do, um, there is so much misinformation around
Mm-hmm.
the one study
Yeah.
that was done
Yes. Yeah. The WHO.
for
Yeah.
yes. And coming out of that study, it just did so many women a disservice and
Mm-hmm.
really, well, so many women suffered because of the misinformation that came out
Yeah.
of that study. And
100%.
now we're seeing that data. Um, that data
It's
hasn't changed.
debunked. Yeah. It's been
They're
debunked.
exactly, they're
Yeah.
debunking what they originally claimed
Yeah.
were the results. And what we're seeing is how we have missed out. Like
Yeah.
women's health is lagging and has missed out on all of this data that could have supported so many women. So,
Yeah.
my story with progesterone, and it basically changed my life.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to
And
say, what do
so,
you wish you would have known? So is progesterone what you wish you would
uh,
have known?
I don't know why it was like, I just thought hormones were bad. Like I never really took birth
Yeah.
control, right? Like it never really worked for me. So I just thought like hormones for perimenopause were kind of like the same thing. And I thought, well, I'm going to have the same experience. But I was suffering so terribly with anxiety and like my story. So I still have regular periods
Yeah. Me too.
and right, which again is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you
I don't need
think,
to, I
oh, I'm
can't
going to
take them
stop.
yet. Can't take it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what my
Exactly.
doctor asked when I
Yeah.
finally went to see him. He's like, do you have regular periods? Yes. Okay. Well, it's not perimenopause. So again, misinformation. And
Yes.
it's not his fault. It's just that there's not studies there to support this and the experience that I'm having. But it was my panic attack that I had. And you and I are both founders. We have
Hmm.
anxiety all the
Yeah.
time. We deal with uncertainty all the
All the
time.
time. Yeah.
So I like anxiety wasn't new to me, but this was next level
Yeah.
anxiety. So the panic attack happened, and then the next day it felt like someone had crawled into my brain and taken over my body.
Oh
I
no.
was a completely different person. I was crying all the time. I couldn't handle anything. And this went on for about a week or two, and my husband was like, "What is
Yeah. No, no
happening?
kidding.
This isn't like, like PMS. This isn't like, this wasn't anything that had ever happened to me before." And finally went to the doctor. The doctor brushed it off, actually gave me antidepressants. And I'm in a very privileged position. I mean, for many
Yeah.
reasons, but I didn't feel like it was the right thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to it, but I just felt like this happened so suddenly.
Yeah.
And because I had access to you and so many other women, I started asking all of them, like, what are you
Yeah.
experiencing? Has you ever experienced this? And then I started getting these stories, and they were like threads, and everyone had something similar, and everyone was struggling. And for whatever reason, doctors are prescribing four things: either birth control,
Hmm.
antidepressants, a hysterectomy, or lose weight. Those are the
Yeah.
four solutions that they have. And so luckily I was able to, through the stories that I heard from other women, which is why I wrote Bleed, because it's
Hmm.
how we move ourselves forward in a system that fails
Yes.
us. Through those stories, I was able to piece together an action plan for myself. I found a naturopathic doctor
Amazing.
who prescribed me progesterone, decided to take it, and literally the next day, it wasn't a gradual thing. It was
Oh
like I
no,
took it
it's
that
like,
night, and the next day I was like, I'm myself again, like fully
yes,
myself. And
crazy.
there was other things that lag. Like I used to be the best sleeper. Insomnia was an issue, and then I started on
Yeah.
estrogen.
Yeah.
And then I have
Oh,
like the
so
best sleeps
you're
again.
taking estradiol and progesterone together. Okay. And you're still
Exactly.
cycling
Yeah.
too.
And I'm still cycling, but I
Yeah.
feel fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's super low dose, so it's not like I'm
Yeah.
taking a ridiculously high dose,
Yeah.
but I feel really good about it. And it's a plan. It's a plan
Yeah.
now that as I'm 40, turning 46 this year, we're continuously reviewing it, and
Yeah.
it's all symptom based. How am I feeling? How
Yeah.
am I sleeping? How are things, mentally, physically? So
Which
yeah,
goes to
it's
show that it's not just one thing. I mean, I'm cycling. I'm just on
yes.
progesterone, I'm not on estradiol, because I don't have any of the symptoms that really garner
Yeah.
me to be concerned with that or to go to my doctor and say, hey, these are some other things that are showing up. And I think that's why working with a practitioner is really important, right? And not all women
Yes.
have, especially right now, we kind of have a doctor crisis going on. There are online clinics. I'm going to have Alter Ego. Dr. Catherine is going to be on talking as well. So
She's who
today,
I
like,
went to.
yeah, right.
She's
Oh,
the
there you go.
one.
That's your,
Yeah.
yeah. So she's going to be on today as well,
Yeah.
talking about this. And so in that, having resources or having somebody you can reach out to, you don't necessarily have to go to a doctor's clinic. You really can find these online resources for women to support us and to recognize it's
Yeah.
not just one thing that fits all. And it's really
Yeah.
about finding what works for you and and you got to tinker. Sometimes you got to tinker a little bit. I had a girlfriend who went on,
Yeah.
she had two things, and then she went off one, and she kind of went back and forth, and now she's found the perfect blend for her. So we're lucky.
Yeah.
Progesterone, of course, kind of works like this, but sometimes it's a gradual progression to find exactly what's going to work for you. But it's well worth it to make sure that you're
Yeah.
getting those dosages right to what you need to be.
Yeah, and it's finding your team, right? It's finding the
Yeah.
practitioner who listens to you, who doesn't gaslight you into thinking that,
Hmm.
you're having symptoms that, are only in your head. Because oftentimes that's what it can be. We're thinking hot flashes, we're thinking missed periods in terms of symptoms that we would know about. But there's like what,
Yeah, I think there's
49-ish symptoms?
103. I think there's
Oh,
103 now.
okay.
Andrea Donsky, I think she said that
Yeah.
she's like now has like 103, which is incredible.
It's like if you think about how hormones impact every
Every
organ
single
of
thing.
your body,
Yes,
how do
everything
we
that
not
happens.
have hundreds
Yeah,
of symptoms for it?
hundreds and hundreds
Things
of
like
symptoms.
frozen shoulder, like how many
Yeah,
women who have a hard time lifting their arm
yeah.
up, and they're just
Tingling in
thinking,
the
"Oh, I
ears. Like
can." Yeah, is right,
there's like
exactly.
it's
And you're just,
tons of things. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really
yeah,
unbelievable. And it manifests differently in everybody. And so nobody needs to suffer. I think that's the big message too, is that
exactly.
you don't have to suffer. And especially now, this day and age, there are hopefully resources that we can tap into. And one of the things that definitely change, and I've noticed, you kind of mentioned this earlier, is how much your periods change as you
Mm,
start getting closer to menopause. I mean, I definitely, and I know you guys have you have a new incontinence product, correct? You have that. So I want to
yes,
touch on that, but can that
yes.
be used as well? Could you wear that? Would that be something you could wear at night when you're experiencing really heavy flow? Because that's something I really experience as well. And is that some of
Yeah.
the signs you think, or that something you noticed too? I think you mentioned that,
Oh
but
yeah. Well, we created our overnight pad because my
okay.
periods got so heavy after I had kids, and just
Yeah.
throughout like, my 30s and into my early 40s, and every like heavy flow pad was just really like diaperish.
Yeah.
And so we and after having kids too, what they give you
Yeah,
at the
of course.
hospital, they're
I
like,
know.
encyclopedia sets you put between your legs. And so we wanted to create something that was super soft,
Yeah.
super comfortable, but really absorbent. So we call it the mother of all pads. It's like 39.5 centimeters long. It's long. It's double winged.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people don't, we talk about this at trade shows, but people bleed differently depending
Yes.
on if you're sitting, how you sleep.
Yes.
And so we talk about, I'm a front bleeder. For what some reason, everything just pools up at the front. But all the
Interesting.
protection in the conventional pads are at the
It's
back
in the back.
because that's how
Okay.
like if you got like a dubby model, they're thinking, okay, the blood's going to go here and here.
Yeah.
Well, we're three dimensional. We move
Yeah.
and we shift, and so for me, I actually I turn the pads around, so I have all the protection in the front,
Oh,
and it's double
okay.
winged, and then in the back. So I again so it's a super that pad's there, and then we created the incontinence pad because so many people were coming up to us at trade shows and being like, I use your pads for, small leaks. And
Yes.
actually our ops manager, she is into CrossFitting. She's super fit. She's 30-ish and she has pelvic floor dysfunction. And so when she
Yeah.
lifts, she needs extra support. And so we wanted
Yeah.
to create menstrual pads are different than incontinence pads. So
Okay.
our incontinence pad is still bamboo, but it has that charcoal chip just because urine has different,
Oh, interesting.
just
Okay.
prevent that any uh what's the word I'm looking for? Um
Like
Smells, but it's not
sense. Yeah.
smell.
Scent.
Scent. Yeah. So just provide just extra comfort there. And then there's like guardrails on the side for that, gush when you sneeze. Because when I'm sick,
Oh,
I find that I'm extra sensitive and
yeah.
I'm not, don't so I use it every now and then when if I get, cold and I'm sneezing, and it's just that extra support. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And that one's back. That's in the market now, right?
It's in
Incontinence.
market. It's at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It's online, and we're rolling out to um, a lot of other stores. We're rolling out to Save on Foods. They don't quite have their incontinence pads yet, but
Okay.
they
Well,
will.
stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So what was your personal impact besides, I mean, I found definitely I've had to really, I have to dial in my nutrition more. I've had to dial in my training more than I got away with when I was younger. And I think that's something I commonly hear with women. They're like, I'm doing the same thing. And all of a sudden my body's changing. So you have that. And I
Mhm.
think that, pain, and that's what we have in the book too. We have, full protein meals and weightlifting exercises and how we really need to focus on, putting our own mask on first, taking care of ourselves during this
Mm.
time. But what was your personal impact with perimenopause beyond some of those also physical changes that end up happening? Did you find it was more in your relationship with your husband? Was it just work in general?
Um, that's a great question. I mean, relationship wise, I think that I mean, my husband's just very in tune. Like he's always been in tune with my cycles. He could tell me he's like, you're gonna get your period tomorrow, and he doesn't do it because I'm an ass, just
Yeah,
because he knows. He's just aware of my cycle. So
yeah.
he's always been really in tune. He's just that guy. But I think the most impact it was personal. It's for me. It was a wake up call, honestly, to what you said, like this idea of like we really have to put our own masks on first.
Yeah.
And I have this really terrible tendency of like the suffer crown, I'm suffering the most. So
Mhm.
like look at me, I'm a machine. Like I can work 14, 15-hour days. I don't need to eat lunch or
Totally.
drink water. There was times before that whole, panic attack and everything where I would work, I'd walk 300 steps in a day because my office is downstairs. So
Mhm.
I really wasn't looking after myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole perimenopause and the symptoms in that journey really forced me to take a look and ask myself, like, where do you want to be in 10 years from a
Hmm.
health perspective? And
Yeah.
then what do you need to do to get there? Because
Yeah.
aging is coming. Like, hormonal changes are here. Like,
Yeah.
I can't prevent that from happening. So how do I move forward gracefully in a way that I really want to? And I used to be a competitive swimmer. I was an athlete, and I really decided that I was going to, bring the fitness side. And you're always an inspiration on,
Yeah. Well,
lifting
thanks.
weights.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
we
It's a
often
big one.
think, if lifting heavy weights means you're going to bulk up. No, you need to like spend 25 hours a day in the gym
Yeah.
and maybe you'll get a little bit bigger. But
Yeah. And a lot
um,
of testosterone.
no, and a lot of testo. Exactly. So that's like, you're not a problem you have to worry about. But that's been really great for just mental health
Yeah.
wise, just,
Yeah.
confidence wise, just I feel great. I'm sleeping so much better and I make it a priority. I have it scheduled in my day. I
Hmm.
go to the gym, I drop my kids off at school, I go to the gym, and then I start my day because I
Yeah.
know myself that if I do the day, I will never go
I'm
to the
not,
gym after. I am
I'm the
not an
same.
evening, afternoon. I
Me
have to get
too.
it done first thing in the morning. So
Yeah.
knowing that, and then prioritizing it. I think it's the gift I gave myself
Yeah,
when
it really
perimenopause
is.
hit.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, when I kind of finish my talks, I always say, obviously I'm here and I go through all the health and stuff when I do my talks, but I'm here to sell vitamins at the end of the day. I said, but if
Yeah.
there's one thing you can take away from this talk tonight, and I give everybody a free gym pass. I work with Good Life Gyms. But I said, if
Mm,
you can start working out, that will change your life because you might buy my supplements tonight and then go home. But in the next 5 years, we might come back and on. I hope you do. But if you can start training now, that will change your life in 5 years. You'll look back and say, I'm so
mm,
glad I listened to her and I started lifting weights. I go, and that's what it's about. And if I can use Air and Wellness to do that and to help like instigate women to put their own mask on first. And recently, when I do the Strong Over Skinny talk, every single time I have a woman come up with tears in her eyes and saying, I'm not putting
mm.
my own mask on first. I used to work out. I used to take care of myself, and I'm just not. And they're like, I needed to hear somebody tell me that. And I'm like, do it. Go to the gym. Go to the gym. That is because for me, I like the fact, and you might be the same. I like going out of the house. If I train in the house, I'll be
Hmm.
like, I'll work out for a bit, like during COVID, then I'll go do something else and I'll come back. I like the act of
Yeah.
like, this is my time. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And find what works for you. Like I do a class
Yeah.
with other, like a CrossFit kind of class once a week, only because it, keeps me honest. But
Yeah.
then otherwise I
Yeah.
work at the gym on my own. And
Yeah.
I love how I remember you saying something about like there's no magic pill. Like even
No, there's
your
not.
supplements aren't going to be,
No,
they're not going to be the thing that changes your
no,
life
it's
forever,
not.
besides progesterone.
Yes.
But other than that,
And boric
there
acid.
is
Boric acid's
no,
a pretty good magic pill too for
okay.
vaginal.
There's very few things that are going to
Yeah,
change your life
very few.
overnight. They're like, magnesium, again, not going to change your life overnight. But yes,
Yeah.
you need it over periods of
Yeah.
time. And I think that goes to anything. And honestly, consistency is the key to
Yeah.
anything in life.
Yeah.
Anything
Anything.
that you're going to be successful at is because of consistency. And I
Yeah.
think that's just something we have to remember. Like a little bit, I tell myself when I don't want to go to the gym, I'm like, even if you just do 10 minutes on the stair climber,
100%.
that's a win, Linda,
Yeah,
because you
it
got
is.
there and you're done. And sure enough, I do the 10 minutes and then I want to do
And then
something
you could
else
do
and then I
more.
want to make it.
Exactly.
But if I just have that mindset, I'm not training for a half marathon. I'm not
Yeah.
running an Ironman anymore. Like those are, or I never did that, but like a try. I, I just like sometimes we feel like it's all or nothing
Hmm.
and then we do
Yeah.
nothing. And I'm very much that like I'm either
Yeah.
training for some big event or I'm like eating all of the cookies on the couch and there's nothing in between. And so I have to consistently remind myself that consistency
Yeah.
a little bit every day or a little bit multiple times a week is the game changer.
Yeah. And
So
if you can do
I
that,
yeah,
then you're good. And so
yeah.
we're going to close off with what is a piece of advice you'd give somebody maybe who's in their early 40s, who's thinking, okay, this is coming. What's something I should pay attention to? What do you think based on what you've gone through?
I think being really honest with yourself and not
Mhm.
brushing things off as like,
Yeah.
oh, like, I did an extra hard workout, my knees are really hurting now, or I can't lift my arm up because, oh, I must have, swam too hard or lifted my kids. Like we always have excuses for the things that we're struggling with
Yeah.
in terms for us, like our bodies. So I would just say, keep a journal. That was really
Yes.
helpful for me. Keep a
Yeah.
journal and then, and don't suffer through it because
Yeah.
you advocate for yourself. You can go to your doctor, your naturopath with this data, with this information. And when you
Yeah.
find the right team, they're going to help you get to where you want to go.
I
Because
agree.
nobody needs to suffer.
No, I agree. Actually, I will say, not to be a plug on the book, but we do have we have a thing about how to talk to your doctor. But in here we have charts in which you can track like menopausal symptoms. So we have like a
Oh,
big one, and then we have two here. So morning, afternoon, evening, and then we have every single, or not all 103, but we have a whole month worth of things you can track on which day
yeah.
with the numbers on the top. So when you go in, because you have 15 minutes, like with a regular, if you're going to your
Yes.
actual, you can go in and say, this is what's going on, right? Or you can
Yes.
rip them out and take them with you and say, I've tracked this
Yes.
for a month. This is the things that's happening. So you can go in and have a real informed conversation with your doctor. And if you need to, bring somebody with you, because sometimes things are happening, those appointments, you're like, what did they just say? I don't remember. Or turn your phone on, say, can I record this so I can remember everything that we had a conversation about because I have brain fog,
Yeah.
and so then you're able to step back and take that advice that they've given you and go back and sit with it and be able to give him the knowledge he needs to look at and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking we should do, right? Let's try this, right? So definitely
Absolutely.
100%.
That's a really, really great resource. And I think
Yeah.
like your book is, I think what's really important about it is that it's going to give people, it's not a roadmap for everyone, but it's going
No.
to give you the tools that you need to get to where you need to go. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what questions do you need to ask? And what questions do I need to ask myself or ask my, the doctors that I'm working with? And allows you to, it gives you the tools that you need to support yourself. And I just
Yeah.
think that it's just so important. And I would get it early. So like not don't wait until you're
Yeah.
suffering and now get
Yeah.
this. But if you're, I mean, perimenopause can start as early as 35,
I got my first hormone
earlier,
test. Yeah. I had my first hormone test at 35 just to see where my markers were. And then I was
which
like,
is
after
which is
that, right?
unusual. Most people
Yeah.
don't do that. Most people don't
Yeah.
pay attention until things are happening. But it can start as early as 35 naturally, but of course it could be medically induced. Don't wait for that.
Yeah.
This book is really um it's like people aren't waiting to figure out how to raise a child until after the
Yeah.
baby is born. You're taking the
Yeah.
9 months to figure that out. Do that for
Yeah.
yourself for perimenopause
Yeah.
and menopause too
Yeah.
with this
I
book.
always
Yeah.
I always joke with that. I'm like, you don't walk into the doctor 9 months pregnant and say, so what are we doing with this? Am I
Yes,
coming to you?
exactly.
Are you coming to me? Like, what should I be
What's the
paying attention
plan?
to? Like, what's the
Yeah.
plan? You're like, we are the minute you find you're pregnant, you're like, oh my God, yeah, lists and colors and names. And then we walk into
Yep.
perimenopause and we're like, what?
Yeah.
What? We need to really
Yeah.
kind of make it like we need, yeah. So definitely be prepared. You can be prepared. We
Yeah.
have the skills, we have the opportunity to be prepared now. So for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I'm
Thank
excited for
you.
you. This is
Thank
great.
you
Yeah,
so
thanks for having
much.
me.
Thank you so much. So everybody, buy Bleed and then buy Erin Wellness and buy the Navigating
It's a
Permanent.
good
Get a double
combo.
pack. Get a double pack. Why
Yeah, it's
not?
a good gift, good combo.
It's a
Yeah,
good gift. It's a good
awesome.
gift for summer, right? So thank you so much, Linda. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And everybody else, stay tuned. We have more people coming on.